Welcome to ATCM, the Emergency Medicine channel. Today we are going to discuss about trifascicular block. You may be knowing about first degree heart block, bundle branch blocks, anterior hemiblock and posterior hemiblock. Now we are going to talk about trifascicular block. Actually a misnomer. There is no three fascicles in our heart. So actually two types of block, combination of two types of block. So combination of right bundle branch block, left anterior or posterior fascicular block with first degree heart block, that is prolonged PR interval. So we have first degree heart block, right bundle branch block plus LAHB or LPHB, that is left anterior fascicular block or left posterior fascicular block. Now we will look at the, you know that first degree heart block is prolonged PR interval. RBVBs in ECG, RBVB can be made out by RSR dash pattern in V1, V2. Left posterior fascicular block can be diagnosed with right axis deviation. Remember, an RBVB most of the time it may be having a wide QRS complex, and sometimes you can get right axis deviation if there is a RVH. Otherwise, most of the time the axis may be normal in most of the RBVBs. But left posterior fascicular block will have a right axis deviation. So if you take the ECG, small R waves with deep S wave in lead 1 and AVL, small Q waves with tall R waves in lead 2, 3 and AVF, that is right axis deviation. Remember that QRS duration is normal. There is no wide QRS complex. No evidence of any other cause for right axis deviation. It's simply a right axis deviation without wide QRS complex, without any RVH or anything. Okay. Right axis deviation without any other ECG finding, you can tell it is left posterior fascicular block. Now we will look at the diagnostic criteria for left anterior fascicular block or LAHB. It is classically diagnosed with left axis deviation. Small Q waves with tall R waves in 1 and AVL, small R wave with deep S wave in 2, 3 AVF. So left axis deviation, and QRS duration is normal. There is no wide QRS complex, left axis deviation, and there is no other cause for left axis deviation like LVH is not there, LBV is not there. Then you can make a diagnosis of left anterior fascicular block. So right axis deviation with narrow QRS complex, that is LPHB. Left axis deviation is LAHB. So left axis LAHB. It is very simple to remember. Left axis LA, that indicates LAHB. So left axis deviation with narrow QRS complex, you can make a diagnosis of left anterior fascicular block. Now we already discussed about first degree heart block and RBV. First degree heart block is prolonged PR interval more than 5 small squares in ECG. You can make a possible diagnosis of first degree heart block. RBVB can be diagnosed with RSR dash pattern in V1, V2. Now we will see what is bifascicular block. Bifascicular block on ECG is defined as combination of RBVB and left anterior or left posterior fascicular block. So you have somebody with RBVB with right axis or left axis deviation without any reason for this right axis or left axis deviation, then you can think about bifascicular block. Here right bundle is blocked plus left anterior or left posterior fascicular block. So that is bifascicular block. Now look at this ECG. Can you make out the diagnosis in this ECG? So you have a RBBB pattern in V1, V2. So there is a left axis deviation. PR interval is prolonged. So LHP is there, RBBB is there, PR interval is prolonged, that is first degree heart block. That is trifascicular block. So ECG shows prolonged PR interval, first degree heart block, RSR dash pattern, RBBB with left axis deviation, that is left anterior fascicular block. So you have three components here, that is trifascicular block. So you understood the pathophysiology behind this. There is a prolonged conduction from the SA node to AV node, and all the fascicles are blocked. Right bundles are blocked, left anterior bundles are blocked, left posterior bundles are blocked. Everything is blocked. So there is a delay in conduction. So there is a major conduction defect. Now incomplete or impending trifascicular block can be diagnosed from one of the two electrocardiographic patterns. One is fixed block of two fascicles, that is bifascicular block with evidence of delayed conduction in the remaining fascicle, that is first degree or second degree heart block. Fixed block of one fascicle, that is RBBB, with intermittent failure of other two fascicles, that is only intermittent, that is alternating LAFB or LPHB, FB. So fixed block of one fascicle with intermittent block of one or either of the two fascicles. So that is impending trifascicular block. Complete trifascicular block is equivalent to third degree heart block. That is very, very important. Complete trifascicular block which can produce third degree heart block because all the fascicles are blocked. This is because the escape rhythm usually arises from the region of either the left anterior or left posterior fascicle distal to the site of block, producing QRS complex with the appearance of RBBB plus either LPFB or LAFB respectively. So a complete trifascicular block is almost equal to third degree block. It's a dangerous block. You might have understood that this is a misnomer. This term trifascicular block is a misnomer because you have only bifascicular block and another one is an AV block. First degree heart block is an AV block, but still we call it as trifascicular block. Trifascicular block means you have RBBB, you have left anterior fascicular block or left posterior fascicular block plus an AV block like first degree or second degree heart block. When all these things are there, there is complete cutoff from the atrial conduction to the ventricular conduction. This should be taken as a third degree heart block. Now what is the clinical importance of this trifascicular block? Incomplete trifascicular block may be progressed to complete heart block, and that occurs very rarely, but even then the patient is at risk. If the patient is symptomatic, we should be very careful, but any time, suppose the patient is having ischemic heart disease and if you see a trifascicular block in emergency room, this patient can proceed to third degree heart block. They should be treated as a third degree heart block when they have symptoms. Patient who present with syncope and have an ECG showing trifascicular block usually need to be admitted in a CCU or cardiac ICU, and if they have a we have to look for whether patient is developing any complete heart block or not. Some patients may require pacemaker. If the patient is having trifascicular block with symptoms suggestive of complete heart block, should be taken as complete heart block, and they may require permanent or temporary pacemaker. Asymptomatic bifascicular block or trifascicular block should be kept for observation if the patient is having some ischemic heart disease or any minor symptoms. They are not the candidate for pacing, but if the patient is having severe symptoms because of trifascicular block, they should be treated with pacemakers. So that is the importance of trifascicular block. Remember that Many of the patients who is having trifascicular block are asymptomatic. When the history is strongly suggestive of ischemic heart disease or degenerative heart disease, they should be admitted and observed. If the patient is having symptoms of third degree heart block like syncope, loss of consciousness, then they should be treated with pacemakers. Thank you.